You're listening to World Oil Deep Dive, conversations with energy industry leaders and engineers about the market trends and technologies shaping the oil and gas industry. Now, here's this week's episode.
All right, everybody, welcome back to another episode of World Oil Deep Dive. And we have two heavy hitters on the show. I guess we can refer to you guys as heavy hitters. We have Sandy Esslemont, CEO of Parker Wellbore, and Gerhard Thonhauser, the CEO of TDE. Guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, one of the things I like to do before we get started is give each of you guys a chance to give a brief introduction about how you got to the position you're in your respective companies and to tell us a little bit about your companies and what you do. And since Sandy, he's a regular friend of the program. I think it's the second, third time you've been on, Sandy. I don't know. So we'll start with you, Gerhard. We'll start with you. So tell us a little bit about your background, how you became CEO of TDE, and tell us a little bit about what TDE does.
Thank you very much, Jim. My history is the one of a classic startup, I would say. My wife and I started the company literally the day after we graduated from university and built the company seeing very early the data is the fuel of the future. Yeah? So we recognized in the late 90s of the last century, I can say already, that the future will be digital. So we started working with any sort of sensor data that we could get from drilling rigs and created a business around that. That is now 25 years old. And I think we have come a long way, basically inventing the whole notion of rig state detection and benchmarking rigs around the world. And I think we have seen more than 2/3 of the rigs that are out there. We've followed some 75,000 drilling projects now. We came a long way.
Yeah, that's impressive. 25 years. Like, you were into data before data was cool, just when they started collecting it and started using it back in the early days. That's a real foresight for sure.
No, thank you. It was really, my professor at that time would say it's laziness. Yeah. So if you don't want to type stuff, you recognize it automatically from sensor data. So that led to that. But it was quite a change for the industry. Yeah? So it was not something that came out of just an idea of some students. It came from being able to truly and factually understand what these machines do, how the people use them, how they run them, to be able to benchmark them properly and find basically potential to improve them.
Impressive. And Sandy, tell us about your journey a little bit, how you became CEO, and tell us about Parker. I think everybody knows about Parker. You got to have the elevator pitch ready at all times.
Yeah, sure. First of all, I'll say that, Gerhard has been a bit humble here because he didn't just graduate from university. In fact, I'm not sure he's ever graduated from university. He's currently a professor at Leuven University and continues to be he's being very, very understated, I think, in terms of his position and ability. But let's get to Parker. I mean, look, Parker is a 90-year-old company formed to be a drilling contractor, a global drilling contractor. Our DNA is all around rigs and drilling and well construction and performance and managing risk. I came to Parker, very honored to come to Parker 4 years ago. And the last 4 years with COVID, with Russia, Ukraine, with everything else that's going on in the world, we rebranded Parker Drilling plus Quail Tools plus ITS to what we call now Parker Wellbore. And Parker Wellbore is very much focused on not just the drilling contracting side of the business. In fact, that's probably no more than 1/3 of our business these days, to more of the rental service and actual well construction side of things, both surface and downhole. So we're very pleased at where we're at. We love the industry we're in, and we share to a certain extent the view that Gerhard described there, which is the future is really around data and digitalization.
Yeah, no, that's an exciting thing there. We're actually here to talk about TDE Powerline, right? So, Gerhard, is this your baby? Is this your brainchild? You came up with this?
Yeah, it is an idea that started many years ago. And the story is, again, digital. You see, when you work with data, I always say you get data hungry. So we can just not get enough information about the drilling process. And the last big gap that we saw very early on, this was in the 2008-9 time, is that we do not get enough data from downhole. It's a bit like Morse signals. Yeah, you have 2 to 10 bits a second on your mobile phone. You have 100 million. Yeah, right. So this is a big bottleneck in understanding what's going on. And today we drill 10-mile long wells, like in the Middle East. And so we detected that gap, yeah. And to top it, yeah, not only the data is relevant, when you're so deep down with your tools, you also want power from the surface. And that led basically to TDE Powerline, that led to that power and data highway that we believe will revolutionize the way we drill.
Yeah. And then that's where the partnership comes in, right, Sandy? Because TDE is developing this high-speed data connection for downhole. We have wired drilling pipes so we can get faster transmission of data. And then you guys being on the front end of that makes for a lovely partnership, right?
Yeah, and look, in Parker, we're exploring and developing digital technologies, sensor technologies, very much on the surface, right? Very much around drilling automation, minimizing emissions. But we've never really gone into the full automation of the drilling process itself, right? I mean, there are companies out there that have the software that links the rig with the BHA, theoretically, and everything on surface is very much working on a fairly high bandwidth, and then they connect to the bit, and that's where the issue is. That's where the Morse code comes in, like we say, right? And at Parker, look, we were never as a company going to be able to develop something like TDE Powerline because it's not in our skill set. But what is in our skill set is we know how to manage pipe. We know how to run pipe, rotate pipe, maintain pipe. We know everything about the business of delivering a solution to operators. They don't want to deal with a whole bunch of parts and pieces and components and screw them all together. And they want a system delivery. And really, that's what brought the TDE Parker discussion to fruition, was the realization that there was no competition between us. There was really good synergies on a global geographic perspective. And Parker not only was one of the leaders in managing premium drill pipe around the world, we actually had a network of machine shops that could be brought to bear to actually enable existing pipe and new pipe with TDE Powerline. Because TDE Powerline is not, you don't just buy a kit and plug it in. It requires, every joint needs to be connected. Connectivity and uptime in connectivity is the goal. So someone has to manage that whole process. So the operator basically just says, look, I want a TDE Powerline string for this well because, and all the because will come a little bit later here in this podcast, but deliver me that string. And that's where Parker comes in. That's where Parker is well situated to bring that string to operators around the world and manage that for them. That was the kind of the light bulb that went on when Gerhard and I first had the conversation.
Yeah, no, I think that's fascinating when you find those great technologies that just mesh perfectly with what you do. And you're like, hey, together we can be better, right? Together we can be better than we are apart. But tell me this, you touched on it a little bit, Sandy. Yeah, maybe you got the answer to this. So there are some other companies out there who wired drill pipes been around for a while. And so there has been this. So what makes TDE Powerline different than existing technologies that are out there?
Yeah, TDE Powerline goes a very different approach in the term you deploy it. And Sandy already alluded to that. So number one, we deliver power and data. Yeah, so that is different than what's on the market is available today. Today it's only data, and it's not a connection throughout. You have to use repeaters to amplify the signal, which means with no power, you need batteries along the drill string, which is creating the challenges, of course. The other part is with the power, this goes away. And then the biggest impact on operational aspects is really that we can retrofit existing pipe. Existing solutions on the market, they have to drill holes into pipe. They have to basically change the pipe forever, yeah. Whereas we can go in and just retrofit existing pipe, which just makes it very easy to conquer a big market share, because you don't have to go to the customer and say, replace your pipe. We can go there together and say, upgrade your pipe. So something that has just been a piece of steel before is suddenly a digital component, yeah? And that makes it very attractive. So we do not have that hurdle of having to convince a customer to replace probably the most expensive asset they have besides the drilling rig itself for a new technology. We can just upgrade it. I think that's the biggest difference, besides, of course, the power and data supply. But I think industry has shown that just having data is not enough. Yeah, you have to have a solution to roll it out at scale and make it a viable technology, not only for a few niche wells that are drilled, but being a technology that can be broadly distributed, because then you can have the impact that we wish to have.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say so you can upgrade people's existing pipe. Can you talk more about that, or is that like the secret sauce that we don't want to talk about?
I believe I can expand upon that a little bit, because we're in the business of supplying pipe, managing pipe, renting pipe, leasing pipe, fixing pipe for the majority of U.S. land drillers these days. And we have a position in the North Sea, we have a position in the Middle East. So we know what it takes to provide drill pipe, and we know how the operators value that, and they value that drill pipe. The retrofitability of the TDE Powerline solution is absolutely key, not from a data and power perspective, but from a business operability perspective. Because the operators or the drilling contractors, they're already sitting on some pipe. Over time, they will be buying new pipe, but the pipe that they're sitting on, they'd be obviously loath to just say, okay, forget all that. Forget the $1 million of investment I've already made. Let's have a power line, a TDE power line string. So we can basically come, as long as it's a premium connection, double shoulder, we can come in and we can take their pipe, and as part of the inspection and part of the cleanup and the installation, we can deliver back a fully wired TDE Powerline solution on their pipe. We can also, if they got to the point where they wanted for some reason to just go back to dumb iron, from smart iron back to dumb iron, we can take them back. We can take them out.
Oh, wow.
The idea is that in these key locations, Parker Wellbore would store, manage, have thousands of these kits to be able to respond quickly to customer needs when they say, hey, look, I really need a power line enabled string for this next program I'm working on. It's not secret sauce. It's just unique. The fact that it's unique, I think, is a huge business driver for the TDE Powerline business.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that is amazing, because that was always one of the drawbacks of wired drill pipe, right? Which, like we said, data only, but it was crazy expensive, right? That was no problem. But yeah, tell us more about the power. Why would we need to get power down hole to the BHA?
The main reason is really to power downhole electronics and all sorts of downhole tools. So there's two things that you change by having power. You can feed rather power-hungry tools in the well. So measurement tools that the customers use, they call them MWD, LWD systems, which are sometimes worth millions worth of downhole sensing that needs otherwise turbines and batteries, which are very sensitive pieces of equipment that can fail. Now, so batteries usually have a life of some 150 hours downhole. So if you can drill longer, you would have to trip to get your tools out and fix. Also, they introduce complications to the tools. So you need to have battery packs, you need to have turbines. If you remove them from the tools, not only do they get less prone to failure, they also get shorter. So the closer you get to it, the better. So that's one element. But the other element, which has not really been explored yet because it has not existed, is anything that requires power to control. Imagine today we're dropping bolts to open valves, for example. Yeah. In the future, just press a button up at the surface and open the valve, close the valve, yeah? Like any other control mechanism.
Nice.
If you want to control an RSS, a rotary steerable system, you will just set it and it will feed you back. I'm set. I'm okay. I'm going this direction now. Yeah. So it's really a revolution for this business to make downhole tools simpler, much more accessible. Secondly, make them controllable. And the third element, I think this is very important to mention, with power, you can suddenly put these measurements along the stream. Because today, you might have a 20, 25,000 foot well. Yeah, you have a few sensors at the end of the string closer to the pit, but you basically have no idea what the drill string does up. Yeah? If you want to avoid vibration, if you want to see very early what your hole is doing, yeah, whether the hole gets smaller, whether you see instabilities in the well, you need measurements along the string. Yeah? Not only are you going to avoid problems, yeah, you're going to drill much safer. Yeah. Let's say you would get a kick, yeah, you would see that pressure wave traveling up. You get into a very new world of drilling, really, Jim, where you have a very different level of safety, early recognition of problems, and ultimately cheaper, more sustainable well. Yeah, it's very simple.
Yeah, no, that's fascinating because, like you said, the addition of power, having the high-speed transmission, the low cost of retrofitting gear you have as opposed to buying new, fresh off the shelf. So obviously for drilling, for, like you were saying, the sensors that you can put along the drill string, then you can take everything. So that can help with formation evaluation and reservoir characterization as well.
Absolutely. And you're going to get high fidelity information in real time, which today you can only pulse very slow, like an image that you can generate. There's some very data hungry technologies where you truly have to trip out of the hole to download the data today. Yeah. You can stream live. Now, again, a very interesting challenge, because now you can use all these tools that are coming that we generally call AI, yeah? Which is all these wonderful technologies. They can certainly help us because I have the information to feed them. Yeah, all these algorithms are as good as the data you can provide to them, yeah, at a very high quality and in real time. So that picture we're gonna totally change. Yeah, so you're gonna see systems that you know from your car. Yeah, you have an ABS, you have an ESP, you have all these systems that really live and die with the information you get from the vehicle. Yeah. And so we're going to reach the same level of fidelity for drilling. Yeah. So we really got to make a quantum step in terms of AI support we can expect for these operations, which goes hand in hand with increased safety and efficiency.
Yeah. And I think it's that increased efficiency, right? When you talk about, okay, look, now we don't have to trip out to go replace batteries and do these type of things. Does that, you guys must have measured some of this. Does that help with GHG emissions reduction, all of that stuff? Have you measured that difference?
Absolutely. This is back to our original business and what we normally do on wells. So we have this enormous data set of plus 70, 75,000 wells where we measure exactly that. How efficient can you drill? How many emissions do you produce? Now, for every minute, every hour we cut off the drilling process, we save emissions. Yeah? Efficiency is key. And yes, less rigs in North America today than compared to 10 years ago. But have you looked at the productivity? If you look at the footage drilled by these rigs, you're even better than in the past. Yeah. And that is the essence of sustainability. You get more out of the resources that you use. You're more efficient. And that leads to lesser greenhouse emissions and to basically more sustainable wells, be this in oil and gas, be it in geothermal drilling, where drilling cost is really eating the butter of your bread if you don't pay attention.
Yeah. I didn't think about that. But of course, I mean, Parker's off in that area too for drilling. It doesn't matter what type of hole it is. If you want geothermal, they can draw geothermal to a hole too. So that is a winner across any place where you're drilling a hole, being able to use this. So now, let's get down to the meat of it. Sandy, I mean, this is probably on your end of the scale. So what are some case studies? You guys been using this downhole? You have real numbers? You got some hard facts for us?
Where we're at in the journey, the partnership is that, look, we identify our customers here, particularly in the US, they're, to Gerhard's point, they're drilling longer and longer laterals. As a result, they're tearing up more and more pipe. A lot of it is, okay, what's happening downhole, right? So this was a customer-led question to us. What can we be doing better? And I think, as Gerhard mentioned, like the efficiency gains over especially in the US land market over the last 5 to 10 years are huge. But how are they going to get to the next level? How are they going to make the next leap? And the next leap simply has to be delivered by connecting the bit in real time with the rig, really optimizing that automation system and process, and having the ability to have power downhole where you can actuate things.
Right.
You're going to end up with less people on board the rig. You're going to have less of a drill crew, more automation. And so the question is, how do we get there? How fast can we get there? The long string measurements that Gerhard talked about, we have 2 different ways of doing that. We can install them in each of the kits and the tool joints. Fairly rudimentary long string measurements, but you're still getting vibration, temperature, RPM, inclination, annular pressure, a whole bunch of stuff that you weren't getting before. There's also advanced long string measurements in subs, which can really help you with stuck pipe, any dysfunction in the pipe, optimizing parameters for really getting that ROP up. So if we can get the ROP up, the efficiency up, we'll drill longer laterals in shorter time, relatively speaking. Hence the GHG emissions reduction. So why are we doing this today was your question. What case histories we have? We are in pilot phase. Okay. We're working together. Our partnership has been in existence now, I think, Gerhard, for what, three months maybe? Lots of questions, lots of things to do, lots of things being turned on their heads so that we can do this, but in 3 regions of the world, with 3 different customers, with 3 different applications, we are working with them to pilot a TDE power line string for them, either in a live well or a test well, whatever scenario. And that's probably going to take us through the better part of 2025, right? In terms of proving that up to all or one of these operators, at which point we basically go commercial and start scaling this thing up.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. That's an interesting thing. When do you expect to have results back from that? I'm just asking because this is information that would be fascinating for the readers of the magazine, for example, right? This will make a great case study once you start getting the data back and be able to put some parameters. So when we're talking 3 months, 6 months?
Yeah, that all these pilots, Jim, they're ongoing. So we are in the middle of preparing, executing these, creating the manufacturing capability to produce kits at scale, provide the necessary measurement devices ourselves or with partners, educating and developing ideas with our customers, because see, you bring a functionality that has not been there before. Yeah.
Right.
So someday they say, oh, I didn't know that this is possible. So some customers, they say, oh, let's think of the unthinkable. Yeah. So we are really crossing boundaries. So I have to say, and we are very proud of that, those pilots, they are true partnerships. Yeah. So it's not just the usual giving and taking as a supplier with the customer. I think we set out with 3 very well-known companies to see how the future could look like. Our mission is to prove only 3 things to them, and I'm repeating what the customer told me. It's reliability in that order. Yeah. So that is really what the customer looks for. So that's our utmost goal and foremost objective to show this to them. We're very confident. We do a lot of testing for this. But immediately after that, or with that, comes the data hunger that I described before. So people are saying, wow, now what can I do this? Can I TD Powerline enable this tool? Can you talk to my service company? Can we have an interface? So it's when mobile phones started, yeah. You said, why do I need a mobile phone? I have a phone at home, yeah. And now the appetite comes with eating, so to say. And now people are seeing what has to be done. And we have novelties. Like last year we tested in Norway, and it was the first time ever that we had 3 different service companies with 5 different systems in one drill string. Wow. This has never been done before. So now people, and I said, yeah, we have power and data. We have to manage this like a utility. Yeah. Because everybody wants a bit of power. Everybody wants some bandwidth of the data. Right. So you need to manage that. Has never been thought about because now it was always a one-to-one relation. There was one of the big service companies in the whole or a small one. They never had to worry about this. So it's a totally new concept coming. So I think Sandy and I, we're extremely thankful that our partners and customers, they team up with us to test this, to drive it forward, but to also support us to foster that paradigm shift, which is a very important element of this. Because, it's a new world coming.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. When you were talking about the telephone, I was thinking about the Gen AI, the Chat GPT stuff. It's the same thing. It's a crazy tool. Even the company who made it doesn't understand all the ramifications. You have to put it in the hands of the users to let them figure out, oh, wait a second, it can do this. These are the things that we can do now, because guaranteed they're going to think of stuff that you hadn't even thought of yet. Even Sandy, who's super genius.
That's where our relationship is pretty special, right? Because TDE thinks the unthinkable, and Parker is there to deliver the thinkable all along the way, right?
Nice.
Without both, then you're just going to have a whole bunch of pie in the sky and nothing on the ground, and vice versa. So it really is a partnership with overlap in the right place and no overlap where it's not needed.
That's fantastic, guys. I tell you, we ran long, but I think this is an interesting conversation, and I look forward to having you both back on in the future when we can talk about some of these things that are sorted out and some of the interesting ways that the companies have found to use all of this. Just what you were talking about, Gerhard, that one topic about like, how do you divide up now this power and bandwidth that's available down? Oh, that's fascinating. That's a fascinating topic in and of itself. But we'll have you guys back on. So Sandy, Gerhard, thanks for being on the show today. Talk to you soon.
That's great. Thanks for having us, and I'm sure we'd both be delighted to come back and update your listeners at some point.
Thank you very much, Jim. Always a pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to our show. Please check out the show notes for the links we discussed in the podcast. We value your opinions, so if you have any questions or comments, kindly email them to us at deepdive@worldoil.com. Additionally, we'd appreciate it if you could rate us on your preferred podcast listening app. Lastly, don't forget to visit worldoil.com for the latest technical articles and news about the oil and gas industry.